The doctor is in the house, y'all. Yes, indeed. The doctor is in the house. And that is none other than somebody who I can call a true sister friend who has her doctoral degree, Dr. India. And you will learn more about her in this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. She has such an incredible journey, an incredible story. So stay tuned as you hear about resilience, determination, endurance, and so much more. Have you ever faced a challenge that seemed hopeless, yet you think that you have the power to change your life for the better no matter the obstacles you face? Well, if so, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Alethea Felton, and welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast, where we explore the incredible true stories of people who have overcome adversity and created meaningful lives. So, prepare to be inspired, equipped, and empowered, for the time is now to create your power transformation. Hey, y'all! We are going to jump right into this, but I welcome you with open arms to the Power Transformation Podcast. And if you are new to our podcast, hey, I am Alethea. Many other people who know me personally call me Lily. But the point is, you're here, and I thank you. And if you have been a listener and a follower since the beginning, inception, or early days of the podcast, I welcome you as well, and I thank you. And I want to jump right into this interview today. And if you're new, you will notice that I always begin with a positive affirmation, because I know the power in words. And the more that you speak these affirmations, the more they are a part of your life. So I will say the affirmation once and you repeat it. I trust and believe that everything is always working out for my highest good. Oh my goodness, y'all. Today I am so excited for our guest because this is, yes, she's a guest, but she's not just any guest. She is also someone that I can honestly call friend. And we have been friends now for quite a long time, almost a decade, almost 10 years. And it is none other than Dr. India Senia. Hey, India. So good to see you, girl.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Lily. It's so good to be on your platform and being able to speak to you as well as to your listeners.
Thank you so much, girl. It is certainly a joy to have you in audience and listeners or anybody. You all will learn later how I know her, but I want to make this all about her because India has such a, oh my gosh, she has a phenomenal story to share. And the fact that who she is and how she helps other people definitely helps them transform their lives. But India, before we get into that, I always like to just ask a nice icebreaker question just to loosen us up and just to have the audience know you a little bit more. So, this is just a random question, nothing uncomfortable, but this is the question. India, when you think about all of the different animals on Earth, and when I say animals, I'm using it broadly. It could be reptiles, birds, mammals, anything, right? What is your favorite animal and why?
The lion. Um, so I was it was probably spoken over my life about maybe about a decade ago that I had the heart of a lioness. And up until that point, I hadn't seen myself in that light. But then when it was spoken over my life, it was almost like a flashing of everything that I had been through and was like, you know what? Like it takes endurance. And so for me, I feel like a lion, they hunt their prey. They are the king of the jungle. They are the most fearful, but they also are soft, caring. and they have longevity. So, like, there's just so much about them and their strength that I resonate with. And so, I'm not the biggest animal person, but I will tell you, I'm not gonna lie. I think I probably got a few of them tattooed on my body. So,
Uh-huh.
but
Wow.
that would be the animal I most resonate with.
That is actually suiting. And that is such a wonderful answer, especially with me knowing you personally. That description and depiction of who you are in a very positive way does suit that of the lion wholeheartedly. Okay. So, India, one thing that I know about you, and again, I did introduce you as Dr. India Sania, but your title, quote unquote, is a performance and mental health coach. Now, we'll get into that, but India, if you could describe yourself, who would you say is Dr. India Sania?
Ooh, I'm a chameleon. Um, I am one who has adapted in many environments due to survival. And it has taught me, one, to keep an open mind because things are forever changing. And sometimes I don't really care for change, but they are always changing. And then two, that I have been blessed to be a people person and to have a spirit that people resonate with. I have not always honored that. I haven't always given credit to that because I not that I wasn't aware, I just really never saw myself in that light. And so now that I'm in I guess my perspective has changed on my impact. I see that, I have lived in many different areas of the United States. And because of my spirit, I can attest that there isn't a place I can't return. And
Mm,
so that to me is India. And that to me is the beauty that I am beginning to embrace, love, cherish, and acknowledge, which has taken me a long hell of a time.
But hey, it's the fact that you are embracing it and you're acknowledging it. So that shows that the growth is there and that the transformation continues to happen. And that is the premise of this podcast, is to have these stories of transformation, resilience, but also to show everyday people that everybody has a story and that we all have something too. And so part of that story goes with this title of doctor. So I'm sure people are wondering, like, how in the world that did this woman get a doctorate degree? What is the journey, India, on you becoming a performance and mental health coach? Tell us a little bit about that journey and why you chose to walk that path.
Ooh, child. I wonder the same thing. People wonder. I wonder, like, woo. I tell you one thing. I did not realize that every season you have different grace.
Mhm.
Right. I've heard that terminology. I'm listening to y'all listen on a podcast. I am a church kid at heart. So there's a lot of things that I've heard growing up, a lot of different colloquialisms and a lot of, passages in the Bible's parables. And so I didn't understand when they said there's seasons, grace that, every season you're grace for it. Right. And I wonder, like, what in the world was I thinking to even travel down the road that I did? I honestly, um, I'm an Aries by Aries. First of all, I believe in astrology and signs and things of that nature. And so I'm very non-conforming. I am a non-conforming Christian. So I believe in other aspects, right? And so one of the things I know about me is I'm very impulsive. And
Mm.
so a lot of times my education or the degrees I went after was literally in that moment. I thought about it, I researched it, it resonated, I did it. And then I got in the middle of it, like, what the hell was I thinking? So,
Yeah.
but because I also had that fight in me, I'm like, I can't come too far by faith. Like I can't give up. But I will say that there, you know, I honestly don't know how I got here, but by the grace of God, and that there were individuals that were strategically placed in the path
Mhm.
that literally met me where I needed them to get to the next level. Because I am one of 38 grandchildren on my maternal side, and I am one of 26 grandchildren on my paternal side. And so to know a little bit about that, because I could never sit on a platform and not bring up my family because I stand on their shoulders. And even the things that I will reveal, I still stand on their shoulders, right? And so being that I come from a large family on both sides, I still manage to be a generation curse breaker, and I'm still on that path. And so, with that said, I'm the first to uh, receive a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate on my mom's side,
Mm.
and I'm the first to have a doctorate on my dad's side. And so, but I am a kid who went to high school on a fourth grade reading level. And so that in itself is impactful. And I don't know how I got here because I'm also the same kid who dealt with severe anxiety during high school, but no one diagnosed me, nor was I ever attended to due to the fact that my father was looking at, death. And then top it on top of that, fourth grade reading level in the ninth grade, I'm also dyslexic. No one identified that learning or that d- uh, uh, disability or
Mhm.
learning disability. And so you pass all of that on, and my father passed away in 2002, and I was a junior in high school, and I really didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I just knew that I told my father on October 14th, 2002, approximately around 7 o'clock that night, looking at a cold court or I want to say a body that
Yeah.
was getting cold because he wasn't really
Uh-huh.
cold at that point, right? He was slowly decaying. And I said to my dad, and one of my aunts will always remind me that I said to him at 17, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I will go to college and I will do everything we said.
Mm.
And within that same year, we were looking at foreclosing on the home. You know what I mean? Like after he died, everything was just up in the air. But anyway, you take all of that and I figure out some way somehow to go to college. God connects me with different individuals, but specifically Black women, and I'm gonna just be honest,
Mm.
Black queens who saw what I didn't see,
Mm. Wow.
and then poured into it, literally. Okay. And so that was the course, or that has been the course of my life over the last 22 years. That is how I'm Dr. India Senia. So just a
Wow.
combination of
Yeah.
everything.
Exactly. And so, in all of that which you share, there's a lot there. So many areas to uncover and, layers of your journey and story. And that ain't even a half of it. And so, so this leads me to asking you this, India. So, just for some context, I think now is a good place to just bring this up. Y'all, I first met India when I was active in a gym in the Washington, D.C. area. It was a gym in Maryland. And I had a personal trainer at that gym. India also had a personal trainer at that gym. We had separate trainers, but we were there. And so we met approximately, I want to say about 2015-ish, 2016. So it's been almost 10 years. But I do remember that we met in about 2015. I was working out, she was working out. I can't pinpoint when we started our friendship or just sparked up a conversation, but I know that over time we really did strike up a conversation. And so we had this commonality of just not our faith and our spiritual practices and beliefs, but also of working out and exercise. We also have a musical background. Both of us are vocalists, things of that nature. But one thing that I always saw in India was just determination, grit, endurance, perseverance, all of the above. And I'll share something else later in terms of something personally India has done for me. But India, I bring up all of that to say, for you now, if a person were to go to your platform and you'll give them all of that info at the end, they see that you are really, really big on getting people to maximize their fitness. However, sometimes people might see a trainer or someone having a platform thinking, oh, it's just about physical beauty, and it's so much deeper than that. India, my question for you is, what led you on this fitness journey, and how has the physical transformations in your life also affected the emotional aspects of your life, or even the other way around?
Okay. Well, so I mentioned earlier that I'm a generational curse breaker. And so one of the generational plagues that has plagued my father's side of the family is heart disease. And so as young as 7 years old for me, I witnessed my father having his first heart attack, which I'm a daddy's girl, okay, and I grew up
Mm,
in a traditional Black family, or six people in the home, mom and dad, church, elders in the church. We was in church Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, okay.
mm,
So traditional, went to Christian school, you name it. And so for my father to be in the hospital for a week, for me, I still remember that because I didn't know life without my dad, right? And so
mhm.
that started a 10-year journey of his health declining, which is very, very significant because I am walking into year 39 and I am in the healthiest place of my life. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But
Yeah.
my dad walked into year 39 in what was going to precede his last 10 years of his life. And so I was a child who watched that. I saw my father in and out of hospitals. I saw him have 4 heart attacks, or, witness the effects of him having 4 heart attacks and 6 strokes. I watched him in and out of surgery. I watched my dad be rolled into surgery while he was singing. I'm a big singer because of my father. He could not sing. Let me just put that out there on record.
Oh.
But he was the one that was adamant and really encouraged me to, make a joyful noise all the time. So,
Mhm.
watching him, by the time my father died, my father, and I was 17, let me just make sure I say that. This was 2002. I was 17 years old. So at 17, my father dying seemed old, right? Because he died a month. And let me just make sure we understand this for us millennials, because we are approaching these ages now. He died a month after his 50th birthday. At
Wow.
17, that was old. At 39, I'm like, holy shiznick. Uh, knock, 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 knock.
That's right. That is not far away. And for me, already being in my 40s, I'm like, oh, he was
Come
young.
on, God. Come on, God. Now, when he died, I said, oh, damn, he's old. Now I'm like,
Oh,
um, it just seemed like he was a little young.
so was. Gosh.
So seeing that, and let me just make sure you understand that when he did get to that age and succumb to his passing, he was on 26 pills a day. He
Mm,
had a pacemaker. He had an enlarged heart, and he was on the donors list. He had four failed attempts to receive a heart transplant.
wow.
I I had a very ill father. So this wasn't no so this was years of seeing this. We didn't go through therapy. We went to church. Okay. I heard people prophesying. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I don't understand interpretation. I'm 6. I'm 12. I'm 13. I don't know what that means. I'm looking up in the sky, like, okay, is he gonna live? And so, and my
Mhm.
dad was amazing about it because he would make jokes. We would, he tried to humanize his sickness as much as possible without scaring my brother and I. But the reality is, he succumbed to his illness. And so I get back to your point of why this is such a passion for me is because at 23 years old, 6 years after my father passed, I went to the hospital or the doctor's office and they diagnosed me with prehypertension and being pre-diabetic. I was 250 pounds at my heaviest, 5'2", so that's very short. Um, I'm vertically blessed in the short way. So, uh,
Uh, Wait a minute.
so
Hold on, India. You're only 5'2"?
I know I got big energy. I know I got big
Girl, all
energy.
these years I know you because I'm almost 5'9", and I'm
I
sitting here
know
like she can't
I
be
got
5'2".
I
Anyway,
got
focus. Stay focused. All right.
everybody.
Excuse me, audience. Look, this is what I get for interviewing a sister friend. Like you're literally somebody I know as a friend, not just an acquaintance, but a friend. But anyway,
Yes.
girl, go ahead. So you
So
were
this is
250 pounds at your max. Okay.
at my
Mm-hmm.
heaviest at that particular time of my
Oh,
life, and
yes.
I looked at
Uh-huh.
the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Look, based on your family history, it's inevitable." And I
Wow.
looked at that doctor and I said, "You
No.
will not speak that history over my life. That's number one. And you
Mm-hmm.
won't ever see me here again."
Mm.
So I had, I was on birth control, like
And and how old were you approximately when that doctor told you that?
23,
Okay. That's
23.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I look,
Ooh.
like I said, I looked at that doctor like this ain't happening. I had no idea of what I was saying. I just knew that I told myself I could not die like my father. And
Mhm.
here's the not just the mere fact that I don't want to live, I don't want to live like that. But not only did my father die that way, his mother, 8 years prior to him dying in 1994, had a massive heart attack and stroke, took her right out.
Oh.
My father died in 2002. My grandfather died in 2005 of heart disease. And then two brothers after that died of heart disease. One had cancer, but he also had heart disease.
Mhm.
It is in the bloodline.
Yes.
However, I looked at that doctor and said, that is not my history. That
Mhm.
was theirs, but that's not mine. And so the last 21 years, or I would say 20, 15 years, I have went on this like serious quest, because I just knew like that couldn't be my plight. Like I can't. I saw it. I know it. I lived it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it took for me. It already took too much, right? And it was something that I had been hearing everybody say you can control. So when I began to, I tried, I failed. It was a 10-year, I'm not going to say this was overnight. It wasn't until about 33 that I was at a place where I could stand on my own in my transformation.
Mm.
But it took time, it took effort, it took me failing multiple different programs. I mean, I did Weight Watchers many times, I did Jenny Craig, Herbalife, Kivana, different things. Like I
Everything.
was always on a diet. My mom had me, my mom convinced Bally's back in, I was like 12 years old at the time,
Mhm.
convinced Bally's that I was 16 to get me a membership.
Wow.
Okay. And so, like, I was always on a gym membership because like, I love my mother dearly, but my mother, was a skinny woman, right? And here she is looking at her husband, who is 8 years older than her, decay. My mom was 42 when my dad died, and they
Ooh,
had
that's
been
my
married.
age. Wow.
Exactly. And they
She's a
had been
young
married,
widow.
and I thought she was old.
Exactly.
I thought, was like, well, she'll be all right. Like, now I'm like, Lord, like, so, and I, at first I hated my mother. I'm gonna just be honest. Her and I have talked about this. I hated her for a long time because I just felt like she was always picking at me. My self-esteem came through her, like she was the skinny woman. She,
Hmm.
always told everybody that she was in a size 4 when she got married. And, that was always a thing. And it was just like, She was, she is like, she's a very beautiful, well put together woman. And my
Mhm.
mom don't play that. Like, we didn't come out the house looking any kind of way.
Yes.
So I struggled because I was that heavy girl. I shaped like my father, I looked like my dad. And so I always thought, now I can understand my mom, like looking at like my husband's dying now, my daughter's going down this road. Her grandmother died like this. I can't even imagine what her thought process was. Now I didn't think like that at 17 and
Of
18 and
course.
19,
Yeah.
right? But maturity has helped me. Um, and forgiveness, right? And so us working through it. But I realized that in order for me to live, I had to take control of what went in my mouth. And I
Ooh.
had to be accountable. That's the number one thing. And I'm gonna tell you, the doctors that diagnosed me at 23, that revelation didn't come until 28. Okay. That's when all hell felt like it was breaking loose at 28 for me. I was in the middle of my master's program. I had never had counseling from my father. I was dealing with my sexuality. I was at my heaviest weight still. I was still in the 250s. I was on blood pressure medicine. It was just crazy. I was suicidal. Okay. I wrote the greatest song, and I still got other songs. I wrote the greatest song, and it's out there on iTunes. You can it's a shameless plug, but you can go and listen to it,
Yeah.
called Don't Let Me Fall. And I wrote that song in the midst of being suicidal. And I was so in a place, and I was in a church. I was a praise and worship leader, but I was in such a bad place with my health, with my sexuality. I was in the closet. I was struggling. I was ashamed of who I was. I was grieving with my dad. It was like 10
Mhm.
years in. And I felt like I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere to go but to the grave. Okay.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I said, you know what? I lost my job. I was working for a trio grant, and the trio, we lost the contract. So I said, you know what? Everything's out of control right now. Everything's out
Mhm.
of control. Everything. I said, the only thing I can control is what goes in my mouth. That's
And
the only
so
thing.
let me ask you this, India, when it comes to your health and your fitness journey and all of that as well. All of these things are happening over the course of several years and spans of your life, and life continues to proceed, things continue
Mhm,
to happen. So it's not that, life stopped. It is just
mhm,
that you learned how to cope and manage and deal things. I'm not even certain if at that point it was even managing it, but you learn how to cope through a lot of different things. And something else with your fitness journey that I saw is that you actually got yourself to a point where you decided to be in a professional competition
mhm,
for bodybuilders, things of that nature. India, the question here is, with all of these challenges and struggles that you just spoke about, that you had been dealing with over the course of some time, including being suicidal and things like that, I know that your faith played a huge part, yes. But India, what was that catalyst? What was that turning point where you said, I'm not going out this way. I'm determined to just not live, but thrive. Where did that resilience and that bounce back come from to help form and shape even who you are today?
mhm. At that point, it
Mhm.
was when I got to the place where I felt like there was no return other than the grave.
Ooh,
And that's when the words came to me. It feels like I'm running with no surface under me. It
hold on.
feels like
Wait a
I'm
minute. It feels like I'm running with no surface underneath.
mhm. It feels like I'm breathing with no lungs in my chest. It feels like this life is trying to take all of my faith. But with this one prayer, God, I ask, don't let me fall. Another part of that song says, it feels like I'm loving, but no love's returning to me. It feels like I've given all the best that I have. It feels like this life is trying to take all my faith. And when I hung on to that, now I never saw myself as a singer, never. My father spoke over my life when I was 4. I come from a very musically inclined family. We should just be the freaking Jackson Five on both sides of my family, right?
Mm,
Everybody can sing. Um, and so I always played the background. I always was the background singer. I shied away from it for the most part. Um, but when those words resonated in my spirit, and I realized like I couldn't go to the grave because it was more for me. And I'm very spiritual, and God reveals things to me in different ways, vision, signs through the word.
mhm.
And that's when I said, you know what? I got to take control of what goes in my mouth. Like everything else is falling apart. There's nothing else I can control. I can't control where I live right now. I couldn't control my job situation. I just couldn't control anything. But I could control whether or not I went to Wendy's every day, or whether I went to Taco Bell every day, or whether or not I had donuts every day, or whatever. I can control that. If this is what's making me miserable, this is what I can control. And when I had that understanding of my process, I then created an accountability system for myself. And that was in people. I went to people that I could trust, and I said, listen, this is my goal. I'm suicidal right now. And these were trusted individuals who were therapists, who were
Mhm.
individuals who were in the field and probably should have turned me over. But it was like, no, we need you to get the help you need. We love you. And it was safe for them. And so I told them, this is where I'm at. This is what I need. One of them, I was like, you know what? I need to lose weight too. So we're going to go to Weight Watchers together. We
Oh,
literally pulled up to Weight Watchers meeting every week, twice a week together. Then we became accountability partners at the gym. We both fell in love with this spinning class, and so we became that. And so we held each other to that. Then I had an accountability partner who held we held each other to actually logging in our food and making sure we were staying within our points. We were that meticulous. I was that meticulous
mhm.
with what I said I had to do. And when I locked, and that was 12 years ago, when I locked in 2012, the weight began to come off
Mm.
physically. When the weight began to come off physically, I was able to then deal with the weight emotionally.
Interesting. It could be
Yeah,
because oftentimes it happens the other way around, where people will deal with the emotional baggage first and then the physical. So thank you for explaining that.
yeah.
Wow.
It was in the physical that I realize my strength, not just the physical strength, but the mental endurance. See, to train, you got to understand time under pressure, right? Because the muscles, in order for it to grow, it has
Hmm.
to be under pressure for an amount of time.
That's right.
That sounds very easy to say when you're going through shit,
Hmm.
but that is the pressure that will grow us, right? And so when I begin to really sit into that and understand that for myself, um, it was in the physical that, because see, I had other traumas that I did not want to deal with, right? That literally, and I wouldn't even say that I didn't want to deal with, that I had compartmentalized, and my brain literally shut them out because I had so much trauma. The brain is very
Understood.
powerful.
Yeah.
I had so much trauma, and eventually it will all be out there. But I literally have trauma in every aspect, from my faith, or from Christianity to meaning church, to education trauma, to the death of my father, to my sexuality, and to being raped at the age of 7. Okay, like there is so much to unpack, and every last one of those tie into each other. And so for me, the emotional piece was just too painful because it it was happening simultaneously,
Hmm.
that my parents knew I was molested, my parents knew I was gay, my parents knew I couldn't read, my parents knew all of this. So then that means I have to continually deal with the fact that my father's dead.
Mm,
right? So for me, I don't want to touch that, right?
mhm,
Because that is a wound or a band-aid or a wound that I had to pick for so long. You
mhm.
don't get over death. You learn to live with it.
Yeah,
And even when you learn to live with it, you got to pick that scab all the time. And so it never heals, right? And so it surfaced. And so that's why the strength part for me was very vital in dealing with my emotional piece, which then is what really birthed Dr. India Senia, why I went and got my doctorate in sports and performance psychology. And so it just, you know, it all came together.
it sure did. It sure did. And I'm glad you actually mentioned what your doctorate is in because although it's not the focus for this episode, listeners, I want to make it clear to you is that India can speak so clearly on this because of the fact she's an expert in this field, meaning she has experience in the practice of it. She understands psychology. She understands all of that. I didn't say that up front for a reason. I knew she would eventually bring it out. But my whole point is that sometimes people can hear this and say, "Ooh, they're talking about some really heavy stuff. I don't know if she's qualified to actually speak on this." Yes, she is. And when I tell you India is very self-aware, extremely self-aware, and understands how far to go with certain things, the things she will share. Offline, of course, she and I talk about a lot more. But in terms of for the purpose of this platform, this is the whole point is that she has an awareness of who she is, but also she helps people understand that, hey, our bodies don't have to stay in a state of sickness, and our bodies don't have to stay in a state of just not feeling well. This isn't to say that people don't go through health challenges. Okay. I know better than anybody. Yes. But sometimes people get so used to being in a certain state or frame of being that they may not see how to get out or how to escape. And so even now, because we have about 15 minutes left, even now, when I go on your social media platforms, I'm seeing you do these challenges that I have been candid about in the past in a joking way. But you have done challenges um, that help people work on their physical body and their physical health. So, India, what led you to say, okay, I'm doing all of this health and fitness things for me, but now it's time to pay it forward. I want to help others change their lives as well. Tell us about that journey.
I'll go back to my daddy.
Mhm.
I don't want now that I am, let me back up. Now that I am approaching that age, right, where although I'm not a mother, I have about five godchildren. I'm gonna say about because one is brewing. I believe in God for it.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
I have two beautiful nieces. I have a niece and a nephew. So I'm like an auntie mom, right? And so I'm very nurturing by, just by my
Mhm,
nature, my spirit. And so for me, I do not want my generation kids to be in my shoes.
mm,
I don't want many of my friends, because actually everybody that I'm around got kids. And
mm,
I look at their kids and I say, what would happen if one of my friends leave right now?
mhm,
One, am I able to step in the place and be that avenue? Because no one was there for me. Let me make that clear. Okay. I had nobody to turn to even understand because I was the first person to lose our dad,
mhm,
right? My mom was the first one who was in the family who lost her husband. So she had no one. She had friends, but not in her immediate circle that had lost anyone. She had to become that person to everyone. I became that person to everybody in my family. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have the capacity anymore. It's been 20 years. I love people, but don't call me, okay?
Hmm.
Call a therapist because
Yeah.
I'm done.
Uh-huh.
So now if you're my
That's called
client, that's
growth.
different.
That is
Right.
called growth. Yeah.
If you're my client, that is different. But if
Yeah.
you're a family member, you gonna go call somebody else
That's
because my
right.
ethics already tell me I ain't supposed to work with you. So I'm safe
Uh-huh.
in his arms. But anyway,
Exactly.
I got to the place where it was like, look, I need to help my generation, right? Because we are at that age. We are approaching hell. We're there, ain't even approaching. I'm using
Hmm.
terminology that I don't want to accept. We are there. We are the new 40, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened to my dad, it could very well happen to any one of my peer groups, right? And so my why is to help us, and help their kids not be in my shoes, so that we are living healthy. We are eating, to live. And you don't have to eat just a salad and a shake.
That's right.
You can enjoy food. And out there, popular, contrary to popular belief, you can enjoy a damn drink too. Okay, all right now, like you can still enjoy life. And not everybody's gonna tell you that because diet culture is meant for you to believe that you need non-saturated fat, or you need a
Hmm.
salad, you need all of this. Culture is believed. The diet culture is meant that way so that you can continue to be on this yo-yo effect and never get off of, you know, the or never get on the train of health of being
Yeah.
healthy. And then it goes into the healthcare. That's why the healthcare system sucks, because it's a management system. It's not a healthcare system, it's a management system. It's
Hmm.
meant for you to manage. Okay. And that's my personal belief. And I'm gonna stay right there because that's my trauma with my dad. Because I feel like
Hmm.
every pill just got him worse, worse, worse. It did to me. I didn't see an increase. But
Hmm.
I didn't see an improvement. So my lens is like, if I can control how much medicine that is going in my body, I'm going to as much as I can. Now, I know that there's
Yes.
some things that you can't. I get that.
Of
Some
course.
of us are born with diseases that is out of our control. So I'm
Hmm.
not talking about that, but some of these like our diseases that are controlled by our diet, that
Type
is
2
different.
diabetes or
Diabetes,
certain hearts. Yes.
yeah,
Uh-huh. I understand totally. And I I get that. And I like how you explain that because even with me, I never want to give people the impression that I'm anti XYZ because hey, I have to get infusions every month for Crohn's. But, that's just something I don't like to do, but it's gotten me to a point where I don't have active inflammation and I don't have polyps now. But I still do my part. Like I ran 3.5 miles today. It was rough, but I did it and I got it done. So I get it. I understand that. And so you're paying it forward with trying to prevent people from having to go down that road. You are doing
yeah.
your part in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because as a former school counselor, I can't tell you how many times, consoling a kid that lost their parent broke my heart.
Hmm.
Like I, I, I can't tell you the many days, weeks, months of that band-aid that just kept being ripped by me. And guess what? I had to put that to the side.
Yeah.
And but to hold a child that lost their parent is a different feel than it was as me being the child. I could relate.
Exactly.
I'm there in their shoes. And
Hmm.
so if I can help one parent turn that tide to give them their life back, then I'm paying it forward with my dad.
India is girl because we could talk forever and ever and ever. But
Hmm.
let me ask you this particularly in thinking about all of these years, these nearly 22 years now since your father's passing, and all of the highs and the lows that you've gone through in your life, and just really being in such an amazing space now. And I've known you for about 10 years and seen your growth and your transformation. India, what do you think if you could summarize briefly, what is the greatest thing that you've learned about yourself? And what is the best thing that you appreciate and value about yourself?
The greatest thing that, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest, the revelation came this week for me because I had been dealing with some things mentally. No, no coach, no specialist, no therapist, no reverend, no spiritual guru,
Know
no
anybody.
nobody. Go,
Yeah.
shit. Even Jesus said, "Hey,
Mhm.
take this cup from me. I don't want it. I don't want this."
Mhm.
Okay. So for me, it was I had a revelation. I was singing um, William Murphy. It
And
is my season of
mhm.
grace and favor, and it is my season to reap what I have sown. And then he said, I've got a seed in the ground. Or he said, I got seed in the ground.
Mhm.
And that hit me.
And briefly, listeners, he's a gospel artist, pastor, things like that. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's a bishop in the black church.
Uh-huh.
So he said, I got seed in the ground. And it hit me. And I said, I got seed in the ground. I'm not the seed in the ground.
Mm.
Because suicide has been hovering over me. And so much so that there has been a cardinal stalking me over the last 6 months. And at first, we had to test the theory. And the last 4.5 weeks, literally, it tried to one, fly in my car twice. It has literally shown up and knocked on the window. My sister friend, she actually caught it on camera, and she was like, "India, this car noise." I'm like, "Yo, it got to be my dad." And so that has been one of the greatest feelings for me. Why? Because every single time I get to a place of elevation, I'm met with death of some sort, whether it's death of a natural person or somebody in my family immediate family member, or whether it is a death of something internally. And so the last year and a half, I have been dying, or last year and a half, 2 years, dying to self,
Okay.
but healing that little girl who never felt protected,
Mm.
right? Never
Mhm.
felt protected by her mother, never felt protected by
Mhm.
her father. And I love what I've gone through over the last 15 years, 20 years, because school was my saving grace.
Mhm.
And to sum it all up, your last question was,
What do
wait,
you
what was
value about yourself the most? So you've talked about that. The greatest lesson that you've learned is about just knowing how to heal, how to reach out for the support and the help, how to be resilient. But what is it that you value and appreciate, even love about yourself and who you are?
my willingness never to give up, even when I am faced with giving up.
Hmm.
And that's when, it's like I said, every time I'm met with elevation, I face this wall, and it has been years of it. And so I will reach out. I have been blessed, like I said, to have a dope ass spirit, because in that spirit, it has connected me with some of the greatest Black women in my life. And
Hmm.
they are in my life currently, who has, and they give me what I need, as far as like when I say I need the help, right?
Yeah.
They're there. When I say I need to talk, they're there, can pick me up. And so for me, I value the most what like I said, I started it. And I said, I didn't even realize it. I value the most and love the most is my spirit and my ability to connect with people. Because That is the riches. And my dad always used to say, and I don't even know the scripture, but I would rather choose or a great name is to be chosen over great riches.
Mm.
And so I always carried that too. That's like my parents always had like governing scriptures for me.
Mhm.
My mom was always like, be slow to speak and swift to hear, or check your motives. And then my dad was always like, your name solidifies you.
Wow.
Your name is what you have. That's all you got. And that's what I value.
And India, what would you say in 60 seconds or less? What would you say to a person that may be having some challenges with their weight, perhaps,
Mhm.
or trauma from their childhood, identity issues, just going through a lot of rough stuff right now, and don't know how to take the next steps towards their healing? If you could speak directly to someone in that situation, regardless of age or anything like that, what would you say to them?
If you don't know, you don't know. I would get around people that you trust and just tell them what you want.
Mm.
That's it.
Mm.
Because you would be surprised the conversation that you can have, that those gems may come out of that conversation, right? Because even though you may not know how to get there, and knowing that you're upset with how you look or how much you weigh is knowing. It's still knowing, right? It's when you're like, to me, it's when you're in denial. But if you know that you're unhappy with where you're at, but you don't know how to get there, I say speak to the people that you trust, because it was in those small conversations that honestly, where I thought was irrelevant, made the greatest impact
Mhm.
and gave me that, oh, you're right. Maybe I should. And that is where you'll begin to strategize and think and ponder and then take those little conversations and try it. Hell, some days I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my challenges. I think I'm in one right now called burpees.
Mhm.
But hey, guess what? It's a part of it. You try.
Yeah. Hmm.
But
Yeah.
know that even in, because some of the other ones that you mentioned, weight it is tricky, but you're not gonna be like, judged for that, right? Because everybody's like, girl,
Mhm.
you need to lose it, because they're already judging you anyway, so they're gonna be happy you want to lose weight. But when you come out with you talking about sexual trauma or you're talking about your sexual identity, those are a little bit more tricky. So make sure you can trust that individual,
That's
because if
right.
you're already in a broken space, you do not want to just be talking to anybody. Okay.
Mhm.
So that is
Yeah.
one that I would definitely say to be a little bit more strategic and careful when you are talking to
Mhm.
people.
Thank you for that. And as I close, I'm gonna say something else after I give you the time to say something. But India, if a person wanted to connect with you on social media or even see what your challenges are all about in terms of your fitness challenges, India, how can the listeners connect with you on social? And I'll also put it in the show notes.
Okay. Listen, y'all can find me everywhere. I am all over the place. Okay. So I am, as far as fitness is concerned, it's called Strength to Endure Fitness. That's Strength to Indoor Fitness. I am on Facebook and TikTok. So you can find me there. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm sorry. I said Facebook
Yeah.
and TikTok.
Hmm.
Yes. So then you
TikTok
also
and
can find
Instagram.
me
Hmm.
on Instagram at Dr. India Senia. So just DRINDIASENIA. And then you can also find me on TikTok at I am Dr. India Senia. So I have two platforms on TikTok and I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes, indeed. And also, just as a Closing note also, if there's anyone listening who is having challenges, maybe with suicidal thoughts, I have had guests in the past who have talked about their experiences. But if you're in the US, there is a hotline, 988, that is 24/7. Somebody is available. You can call it, you can text it. You can email 988 if you are listening elsewhere, because I do have global listeners and suicidal thoughts are challenges for you. There are numbers in your country. I did Google it at one point to find, but every country does pretty much have a means for that, or go to your local hospital or clinic and get help, because we're human. We are going through these experiences. You all know my perspective. We are spiritual beings, yet living a physical existence. And while we are here in the physical realm, we will still go through certain things. And I want to say a brief closing thought. India has no idea that I'm going to say this, but I am. We could have had a whole episode just on her, sexual identity and all of that. But I want to make a note to say this. Me being a Christian, heterosexual, cisgender woman, um, what I'm trying to say is India is like a little sister to me. And a situation happened a few years back that I won't go into depth with, but she respected our friendship enough where she wanted to tell me that, she had come out. But the joke was kind of on her, because when she told me, I said, I already knew that you were gay, and that didn't make a difference to me. And she looked shocked, like, you did? I said, yeah. And then she said, well,
Yeah,
did
because I was
you
in
do
the
anything?
closet for so I was in the closet for so long. So
Yeah,
it's like, me when you are in the closet and you're in the church, it's
yeah.
like, okay, you
So
trying to pass, of course.
yeah, so I had told her, I said, girl, I knew from day one you were gay. I can't tell you how I knew. I just knew, but I'm a straight woman, but I didn't feel any kind of way around her. I loved her as a person. And what I'll also say is, India in her journey, gosh, I could have her on for multiple episodes to just talk about her transformation in a lot of different areas. But part of my healing, as you all know, has come from my support system and people that I love. And India has gifted me twice that I can recall vividly. One, when I was very ill, very, very ill in the hospital, she and my former trainer at the time, Gabe, came into my hospital room, and India just started singing a worship song to me. I still have it on camera, video. And I joined in, and I mean, it just became a worship session in that hospital room. And then the other time was my sister, against my wishes, threw me a 40th birthday party. I didn't want anything for my 40th. It was the heart of the pandemic. I didn't want anything. I was completely okay without it. My sister surprised me with a 40th birthday party at this beautiful, gorgeous winery with such nature and scenic
Mhm.
views. And I want to say approximately 10 of my very closest friends came, and India happened to be there. Excuse me, had no idea how my sister knew who to invite, but it was perfect with the people that were there. Few people who were out of town couldn't come. But my point is, even at my 40th, India sang a song to me that just gave me such life. And it's always a spiritual based song that is uplifting and elevating. And so, India, as I close this podcast episode today, and I just want you to just take it in, because sometimes it's hard for you to receive what people are saying. But I just want to tell you that it has truly been an honor seeing you and your growth from the time I met you back in 2015 all the way up until now in 2024, to see the woman that you are continuing and evolving to be. And although the age gap isn't huge with us, it's only 3 years or so, It's just the fact that I feel so honored to know you. And although with the pandemic and things, we don't talk as frequently as we used to, the love has never gone. And I'm just so excited about where your life is going, what more is out there for you. But when you may feel as if you aren't making a difference in people's lives, I just want you to know that you have definitely made a tremendous difference in my life for the better. And even me now on this entrepreneurial journey that I talked about for so long doing full time. And now that I'm doing it, it is all because of the prayers of the righteous and prayers of friends and loved ones like you who have made it possible. It was an honor having you on my podcast today.
Thank you.
Continue
Thank you.
growing, transforming, and shifting. I am so glad that you were born India, and I want you to keep being healthy in more ways than one, even beyond the physical. I love you, girl.
Love you too. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you all for listening. Till next time.
Again, I am so thankful for India, Dr. India, for taking time to grace this presence on the Power Transformation podcast. And I hope that something she said will definitely carry on with you. I know that the best is yet to come for her life, and I believe the same for you as well. And with that being said, I'd like to close off with our affirmation. Believe this with your whole heart, knowing that your story is not yet finished. I'll say this affirmation once and you repeat it. I trust and believe that everything is always working out for my highest good. If you enjoyed today's show, then you don't want to miss an episode. So follow the Power Transformation Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you usually listen, and remember to rate and review. I also invite you to connect with me on social media at Alethea Felton. That's at ALETHEAFELTON. Until next time, remember to be good to yourself and to others.